Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to WillCast. Appreciate you stopping by, tuning in, liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. Alan Roberts, back for round number two. It's a pleasure to have you
How you
back.
doing, man?
Doing good.
It's a pleasure to be back.
What is new in the world of Alan Roberts since we last spoke?
I think since we last spoke, let's see, we've launched No Morbidity. It's our non-stimulant, non-thermogenic based appetite suppressant. We kind of made it because, like, my wife and I specifically do weight loss and lifestyle coaching for people and have for years now. We probably coached about 1,000 people from obese states to healthy weights. And one of the things we noted, if we wanted to really help a lot of people, was, almost everybody that wants to lose weight really has like the drive to do so. But the thing that always gets them to fall off is their hunger. And I have a new book out called Beyond Willpower, the Hunger Management Method. But this supplement helps people control their hunger. It diminishes their hunger and increases their stress relief. So four patent ingredients at clinically tested human doses. It's going really, really well. We're already in Vitamin Shop around the world, being sold on our websites and stuff like that. So that's new. And then just we're continuing to just do the thing. Like the my channel size on YouTube has shrank by about 20,000 because they have me suppressed and stuff like
Oh my
that. But
god.
I'm in like a weird scenario where it's like I released the video, thousands of views, the like to dislike ratio, which a lot of people can't see because they hid the
Yeah.
dislikes because that, but like we can see it as creators. Like I'm getting like 98% approval rating and still just losing subscribers every single time I talk. But
So you're
I think
getting
that's
90% likes?
98% likes,
90.
yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then, but we still lose subscribers every single time. I think it's the algorithm or whatever. But I'm focusing a lot more on Twitter, although my Twitter recently got hacked, but I just got it back. Yeah, they're just not nice to me.
Wow.
So but I just doing my thing. We're helping people get healthy. I'm getting ready to enter my hard training phase of the year. Every year, I normally take like a lighter, just kind of mobility and like longevity stance from basically October, November, December. I normally just kind of do basic movements, stuff like that. Just really watch my nutrition, and it's also the time of year where I use to kind of downsize because I am really trying to downsize muscle mass.
Hmm.
But then I was way too big. I mean, I'm going to be 52 this summer. So, but then normally January through September, I'm normally pretty intense, and I basically between muscle memory and stuff, I build back a little bit, but I'm just getting ready to enter that phase, and we're pumping on along. We're probably gonna be doing some live events here with my business partner Mark Loveliner from Tiger Fitness. He's also the business. He's a part owner of Ambrosia Collective, which is where we released our supplement on, and just doing our thing, trying to spread the good word of being healthy and not crazy in 2023.
Yeah. That's really interesting. You said you try to downsize. You don't hear many people say that, trying to downsize on muscle. Is there any health concerns about having bigger muscles?
Well, I mean, I'm a big believer that the more mass you have on you, the harder your heart needs to work anyway.
Yeah.
Like your heart doesn't really grow. Like you can increase your cardiorespiratory efficiency and your cardiovascular health and stuff like that, but like your heart is kind of one size. If your heart enlarges, it's actually bad for you. So,
Hmm.
and that's why most athletes have slightly enlarged hearts. So I probably do, but there's the thing called there's stroke frequency and then there's stroke volume. The stroke volume is how much blood actually gets pushed out of each beat, like how hard your heart beats, right? And when it needs to push out like more and more volume, it beats faster and harder to supply oxygen to the entirety of your muscle mass and fat mass or whatever, just body mass. That's why one of the reasons why being morbidly obese is very unhealthy for you is because your heart is only designed to pump blood to so much body, and if you have twice that body, it's not healthy for you. Um, I weigh anywhere from uh, about 180 to 190 pounds. I don't weigh myself, so I'm just going off of what I look like compared to when I weighed like over 280 pounds, right?
Hmm.
And when I weighed 280 pounds, my lean muscle mass was somewhere around like the one fucking eight, I had more lean muscle mass than I have complete mass right now, right?
Okay.
And I just the smaller I am, the kind of the healthier I feel
Hmm.
type thing. I'll probably get to the point where I'm about like full lean, like around I normally lean out to around 10% body fat in the summer. and I'll probably weigh somewhere about between 175 and 180 pounds. That'll make me happy. At around 10, between like 9 and 12%. That would make me very happy. One, it's just like I don't train for strength or anything like that anymore. Although pound for pound wise, I'd imagine I'm just as strong as I was before, if not stronger. And I'm definitely more athletic because I can move a lot better, even than a few years ago when I was younger. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna be 52 soon. But the the biggest thing I notice is like I sleep better, everything like that. My joints hurt less, and I just it's more of a normalcy. I train for like longevity versus nowadays I train for longevity versus strength.
Mm.
So it's just kind of important to me to like be like kind of normal sized. You know, I've kind of been able to put the ego away of mass. Although it's not like I don't like still at 180 pounds. You know, I'm at 5'9", 5'10". I have a very, very, very small waist when I'm fully dieted down. I got like a 27.5 inch waist when I'm dieted down. So it's like I still have broad shoulders and all that. So I still like how I look, but I'd rather train to be able to lift 9 pounds, like a 9 pound great grandchild when I'm 90 years old,
Mm.
than to try to lift 900 pounds of anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What does that process look like to downsize?
Honestly, it's just a matter of food intake. I definitely have diminished my calories very, very low. Again, use of our hunger management method. I'm just not hungry. Like I've controlled my hunger to the point where on literally like anywhere from 1,700 to 2,000 calories, I can be completely satiated. I make it almost all completely protein, healthy fats. And when I do eat carbohydrates, they're normally from vegetables, fruits. The rare, maybe once a week occurrence of eating something that's processed just for pleasure only to make sure that I feel satiated, not restricted, because I'm the type of person, if I feel too restricted, I end up overeating anyway.
Mm.
So I just managed to basically, lower my calories down to the point where I'm focusing on keeping, like, I want to keep as much muscle mass as possible, but I just want to diminish my body size. And I don't necessarily like do like very, 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 very serious hypertrophy work. I kind of do just longevity endurance work for a good portion of the year. And even when I go back, like right now, I'm getting ready to start my first hard training phase this week, where besides my wife's classes, which she teaches live, I join her in all the time. I use very low weights and I use a TRX system, a lot of suspension system training a lot. This year, I am actually adding a little bit more lifting than I did last year, though. I'm going to do a little bit more deadlifting, I think, this year, but I'm also going to do a combination of half sets or sumo, half sets or conventional, and I'm going to do it with much lower weight and kind of like almost like a not cardio deadlifting, but I'm going to do five reps every minute on the minute, and I'm going to alternate between sumo and conventional, and I'll do that for probably 30 minutes once a week, and that'll be my posterior chain day, and I'm hoping that it'll be minimized on my back because I'm not really squatting anymore. With an actual load, I goblet squat and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I'm just switching some stuff up, but I really just try to like not worry about like the mass too
Mm.
much. Now, don't get me wrong. If I still end up like at 185 pounds lean, I end up at 185 pounds lean. It's still way better than 285 pounds lean.
Mm. Yeah.
So, I mean, I just want to try to make sure like my entirety of my effort for almost the entirety of the year is to try to be as healthy as possible and live as long as possible. However, I mean, I'm in the fitness industry, so you have to have a certain look a couple times a
Yeah.
year, especially my age, So what we'll do is probably right around my birthday, which is in the end of July. That's probably when I'll be the most massive I'll get and the leanest I'll get at the same time. We'll take a bunch of pictures that week, and then we'll use those pictures for a year. That's what I do
Mm.
now. That's
Yeah.
what I did this past time. Like all the pictures you see of me like now. And by the way, for people watching or listening, this is what almost every fitness person does. That they end up like 1 or 2 times a year. They take a lot of pictures wearing a lot of different
Mm.
things for about a 2 week period of time, and then they don't look like that as much anymore.
Yeah, just like
Because
people who compete for Mr. Olympia, right? They only look like
yeah,
that on that specific day. They're literally on the brink of death because they're so
yeah,
dehydrated.
yeah. And I won't ever do the dehydration thing. I won't do. Like I just won't.
Mm.
Like I try to. I see you. My cat just yelled at me. The the dehydration thing is just scary to me. Like Mark is a bodybuilder, and I worry about him all the time with it. We talk all the time. Like whenever, especially whenever he was getting ready for a show, I was texting him like every couple hours, like, "How you feel?
Yeah.
Like, how you feel? How you feel?" Like because it's dangerous, but at the same time, it's these guys know what they're going through, and that it's like a trade off that they do. At least they're not in denial of it, which is my big thing.
Yeah. So you said you wanted to get down to 9 to 10% body fat?
Probably around 10. Like the last time I was super lean, where I could literally see like the muscle fiber contractions in my bicep,
Damn.
like the full way. It felt like shit.
Yeah.
It felt horrible.
What is
Like I was in 90-degree heat in Florida and cold.
Yeah. Wow. That's impressive.
I mean, it just does not feel well. It's impressive, but it just doesn't, like, to me. It just does not feel that good.
No.
And I don't like, it's not that important, as important to me than it is other people. Like, especially, I do believe it's different too. Like, I'm not a bodybuilding coach, and I'm not like a fitness coach necessarily. I'm a weight loss coach, so there's not that much reason for me to get that lean. So probably about 10%, but it's not like I measure it either. I will tell you this though, once I get very lean, like once I can just start seeing striations everywhere, I pay way more attention to how I feel than the actual body fat measurement type stuff.
So, okay, that's very interesting, because I always thought that, 10% and below is kind of starting to get unhealthy.
Yeah. I would agree. I felt like shit at below 10. Like, felt horrible. That's why I said 10%. I didn't feel bad. It was probably I probably was honestly, like, I didn't get calibrated or measured. I just looked like, if you would compare other people that are at 10%,
okay.
I had a very similar look.
Yeah.
But I was probably anywhere between 10 and 12. I don't step on the scale normally. I step on the scale like twice a year, and it's literally because of social media. That's it. Like, otherwise, I don't care how much I weigh as long as I'm healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I haven't had my body fat recorded besides calipers, like a loose caliper thing, in years. So it's not, I don't do DEXAs, and I don't do dunking or anything like that. It's irrelevant almost. I just worry about, like, once it gets to the point where like if I like this past year, I could see striations in my jaw. No, never again.
Wow.
Not ever again, but I mean, I was still probably around, like, right at 9 or 10 or something like that. But at the same time, like, for me, that's just, I didn't feel good. I absolutely, and I'm old, man. I mean, I'm fucking ancient.
The older you get, do you need more body fat, or is it the opposite? Because I know you tend to lose more body fat as you get older, right?
You lose more subcutaneous fat. Your skin thins, basically. But you don't necessarily need more. It depends on, that's more of a hormonal thing, I do think. But because body fat, if you're low body fat, your hormones tend to lower down. Also this year, like, I mean, I was on an estrogen blocker for a couple of years for my doc. I might be on TRT by the time I hit my 52nd birthday. We'll see. I'm putting it off as long as possible because I feel good. Especially, I feel good now, but the vigorous training, like last year, got to be the point where I was like, fucking, I'm not like even 40 anymore. But it's a matter of, I think that would be more of a matter of a genetics person, like where you live. Like, I could never be super lean and live in Pittsburgh still, like ever. We were just up there, and I'm probably rocking like 14% body fat somewhere in there right now, and I was fucking freezing. It was cold as shit.
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly do it if I was super lean, because, like I said, I get cold being like low body fat in Florida.
Yeah.
So now.
TRT, is that testosterone replacement therapy?
Yeah. I'll have my levels checked here in about 2 months. I thought I was going to be on it last year, but the doctor was like, I was still like around 700, and that's good for me. I don't want to have like the superhuman T levels. Like, a lot of people put their T levels up to the max of like a young person, like 1200. If I can just maintain mine at 700 or so, I'm happy, but I just don't like, it's like, to me, it's more of a long, like, again, it's a longevity thing for me. Like, and there's tons of data that show that testosterone replacement therapy or hormone replacement therapy for women, especially for older people, has an absolute quality of life enhancing effect and an absolute help with longevity effect. Staves off chronic illness and disease by helping to stave off obesity. Recovery time is better. People normally sleep better, stuff like that.
I'm super ignorant when it comes to testosterone replacement. Is it a type of steroid
You
or
broke up on me there.
do you hear me? You're there?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
Uh, I said I'm super ignorant when it comes to testosterone replacement, but is it a type of steroid or how does it work?
It's basically an artificial copy of natural testosterone. You know what I mean? So it's not a steroid necessarily. I mean, it's yes. I
Mm,
should put yeah. I would never consider like I haven't considered myself natural anyway because I used DHEA before and
mm,
I was on an estrogen blocker, but absolutely yeah. So I mean, the thing is, it's prescribed by your doctor
mm,
more than the other crazy ones, and it's like it's coupled with a lot of blood work, like very regular blood work to make sure it's not too much or too little, that sort of thing, and to make
mm,
sure it's not having deleterious effect on anything else in your health. You know?
mm. When people do steroids, their own natural testosterone production slows down, right? Your body thinks it's not gonna need its own natural testosterone because it's getting so much testosterone boosted into your
That's
body,
my
right?
yeah, that's my understanding. It can be suppressive, you know, and a lot of times, like that's why I mean I did DHEA for years because you can buy it over the store over the counter at Walmart.
Mm,
But that's one of the reasons why the doctor put me on the estrogen blocker was to make it so I could my body would start generating back its own testosterone levels, and it's worked really well. I'm not even on it right now, so that's
mm,
I'm feeling good. But the you know once a year we check the levels, and again, like I said, towards the end of last year's training block, like heavy like intense training. I don't even call it heavy because I don't train heavy, but last year's intense training block, I can feel my age a little bit more than I had before.
mm,
So I'm thinking that this year might be the year.
mm,
If not, next year. I mean, I don't. I'm
mm.
as long as it's as healthy as possible, it's good for me.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what I look at it. And a lot of times, I mean, it is the healthier choice, not necessarily illicit ones or illegal ones, but
Mm.
definitely if it's definitely if the test results show it. And I do research on everything. I don't just listen. I don't trust
No,
doctors at
yeah.
all anymore. So at all.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in America, man. The stories we hear here in Europe about American doctors and the things they just prescribe with opiates, and it's pretty scary.
Well, not only opiates, but for us in America, medical error is like the third leading cause of death.
Oh my God.
Like our healthcare system has a very high death rate all itself. Something like anywhere between 300,000 and 450,000 people a year die from medical error in America.
Oh my God.
Like,
That's crazy.
yeah, yeah, a huge number. And like I worked in healthcare for a long time, and it's understandable why, because like while healthcare in America is very expensive, what people don't understand, it's not spent on the actual care level individuals. The administrative level, like I was an admin, an executive, I was an administrator. I wasn't like I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse or anything like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know a lot about health because of what I do, but also I studied up to the point where like I can have a debate with most people, especially about the topic that I talk about a lot, which is obesity and health in that way and nutrition. I tend to believe like a good portion of the clients we've gotten in the last couple of years have been doctors, nurses, physicians assistants. About 40% of our clientele is from the healthcare field because they know so little about lifestyle and nutrition. But it's all administrative based. Like the vast majority of the costs go towards profit, administration fees, administrators, stuff like that. So it's not like it's actually being spent on care. I mean, there's a reason why in America they charge you $50 for a can of Coca-Cola when you're in a hospital room.
Mm.
You know,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, our healthcare system needs to be completely dismantled and rebuilt from the ground up because we don't have a preventative healthcare model in America. We have a treatment model. Like
Mm.
we don't really have healthcare. We have sick care.
Yeah.
We treat people that get sick, but we don't actually try to avoid it. Like
Mm.
not once in America did you hear any public health official for the entire pandemic talk about unfattening yourself or even trying to lead a healthy lifestyle. Instead, we locked everybody inside, had everybody order DoorDash, and we were giving people Krispy Kreme donuts
Yeah.
and McDonald's to fucking take the vaccine. It's insanity,
Yeah.
like if we were actually about health, if the healthcare industry was about health, we would be telling people make sure you get plenty of exercise, get some sunlight so you're not vitamin D deficient, go for a daily walk, try to eat, a minimal amount of ultra processed food. There's some new studies out that show that ultra processed food, eating more than 20% of your actual nutrition, has very, very, very severe effects on cognition, like on cognitive health and executive function of the brain, meaning like the things that control self-control, perseverance, time management, task initiation, like those sorts of things. It has like a 25% reduction after 8 years if you eat 20% or more ultra processed food. And the last studies done show that most of America eats about 50% of their total daily caloric intake in ultra processed food. So we're, as a majority in America, well above the level that would cause us over a time span to have very serious negative effects on our executive function of our brain. Like that's why we're all crazy, you know? That's why the rest of the world, because I have clients all over the world, that's why the rest of the world views America as stupid and crazy. Like, I mean, I know you do. Like, I know you do. Like, what we do is stupid. Like,
A lot of it.
to a huge degree. Yeah, a lot of it's really dumb. Like, just really, really, really dumb, you know? But that's our country. I mean, I love America, but it's my country. We're dumb as fuck. We really are. We're dumb as fuck because we listen to people that are in power without question. Like we should question almost everything about what's going on, especially because the way our country's going right now, we have two basic parties, and neither of them seem to be working for the people. They both seem to be working against each other, and both of them I'm a very strict constitutionalist, meaning I believe in the freedoms that are outlined in the Constitution. And I see both of our political parties, our main political parties, I see both of them kind of stepping all over it and not trying to right the ship at all. They just want more and more and more control of our people. And the one thing I can say about America, what makes it awesome, is that we're kind of the last bastion of true freedom in the world, where our government should have less say. And in the course of the last 5 or 10 years, well, even 20, because when 9/11 happened, we had the Patriot Act get enacted, and that took away privacy, basically, and that's a problem that we need to right. So we have lots of issues here, that's for sure. Lots and lots and lots. We got a lot of work to do.
I wanna get back to this because that's super interesting, and I want to hear a little bit later your opinion on what we can do to get the world back on track, I suppose. But I wanted to dive a little bit into something we talked about last time, and that's cancel culture and the hate and everything like that. Besides just getting hacked on Twitter, did you experience any difference on Twitter after Elon Musk bought Twitter?
Absolutely, 100%. Like stuff that I had been silenced for, that I still get silenced for on YouTube and on Instagram, I'm able to say openly and freely, and and not only openly and freely, but it gets good reaction and good traction. Now I haven't, like, my account got hacked about a couple weeks ago. They got it back to me, and I still have to do a few things on the back end, but I still get pretty good traction. Like, I can't change my profile picture, my profile name right now.
Oh.
It's still that of the people that hacked me. So they're working on it though. But yeah, a lot better traction, a lot more engagement. Like, people were like, "Hey, I didn't even know you had a Twitter." Like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's crazy, but they're like, now you're showing up all the time. Like, a lot of people told me that, like, now my tweets show up all the time. And I mean, there is where I actually do share. I steer clear on the YouTube channel as much, and I don't give a shit about Instagram, to tell you the truth. I really don't. But they've deleted me like 4 or 5 times. And TikTok is like the 7th circle of hell. They've deleted me like 100 times. Like, I really have an account there I don't post to. I just get videos, because that's where all the craziest talk is.
Yeah.
TikTok. But like on YouTube, I try to keep it fairly just weight loss related, because if you talk about the pandemic too much on YouTube, they silence you even more. But like societal stuff on Twitter, the conversation seems to be much more open. Like, it's easy engagement to talk about anything from transgender ideology to like the pandemic. I don't even give, like, some stuff I don't even give a shit about, like the thought concept that we can't question the science on other platforms is kind of telling to me. If I didn't have, I got to be real, if I didn't have businesses, I would not be on social media. I think I think it is deviated into a kind of a more damaging tool for society than a helpful one, you know, to a great degree. Like it allows for very serious, very serious catering of thought.
Yeah.
Like you can find yourself stuck in like a little microcosm of what society would be. Like look at like, and it depends on the social media platform. Like look at TikTok. TikTok literally has people like talking about how I'm 400 pounds, I'm healthy, you can't tell me any different. And if you try to like speak out against it, they delete you.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean that's not healthy. Like that sort of thing is absolutely not healthy. And the problem is these are companies that take advertising dollars. Like I recently, like today, a couple hours ago, I just did a video breaking down 60 Minutes, like the show 60 Minutes, which is known worldwide, right? It's basically a news show from America, and they did a thing on these new weight loss drugs, and only midway between on YouTube did they mention that it was actually sponsored by the weight loss drug company.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's easy on social media to get misled. That's why I try to share as many actual studies and data as possible. Like one of the big things that got me canceled a couple of years ago was sharing CDC data and giving my interpretation of it. Like I actually would use their numbers, which were massively inflated numbers of deaths, right? I mean, we all know that like they admit that only 5% of the people that are on the list of the CDC died of it, right? And so 95% of people had like an average of 4 or more other comorbidities and the average age of life expectancy. So it was old, sick people that died a lot. You know, it's unfortunate, but these are the people that do the dying. And I was sharing this data and I got they deleted the video. I wasn't allowed to upload for weeks, you know, because like it was misinformation. I'm like, how the fuck is it misinformation when I'm reading from the CDC?
Yeah.
You know, so it's social media has reached a tipping point where as long as it's not seen as the town hall, it's seen as a company, it's a problem. Like if it was a town hall where everybody had freedom of speech and expression, I believe that it would be a very useful tool for society to make the world much smaller. But right now, the way that like narratives can be curated is not necessarily good. And I don't even trust for real. While I like Twitter the way it is, I like it a lot better than what it was. I don't necessarily trust Elon Musk either. I mean, his life and our life, like mine and your life, he has no reference on what we go through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like none. He's like, I mean, it's billionaires to regular people. It's like a different species, you know, like, so it's not like his judgment could absolutely be skewed by this, you know, or, I mean, owning Twitter could help him out and he could see how the common folk live and maybe it might help society. But at the same time, like, we shouldn't trust anybody. Like this guy wants to put chips in people's heads.
Yeah.
I'll pass. You know, I didn't want the injection. I didn't want the vaccine. I'm definitely not going to have a chip put in my fucking head. That's for fucking sure. You know.
But don't you think that's very interesting? Because once people start getting chips in their heads, like, don't you think at some point you're going to get one too?
Nope.
Never ever.
Never ever. I'm never ever getting the shot either. I'd die first. If I get the COVID vaccine, it's going to be that they're going to be injecting my corpse. 100% guaranteed. I'll die a free person. I'd rather die a free person than that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against the chip thing for people that have like. There's very serious from the data. There's very serious medical application for paraplegics, quadriplegics, people that might need a prosthetic, where the prosthetic works as if it was a replacement for the limb, like the Bionic Man and stuff like that. I'm all for that shit, but so I can turn my TV on? No thanks. You know what I mean? Like no, you know, I'm not like, and like I just don't see myself doing that.
Yeah.
You know, like, now don't get me wrong, if I was in a car accident, it would help me have use of my legs again, maybe, but I doubt it still. I mean, here's what, like, this is no shit. Like this was one of the reasons that, you know, because I'm all for medical advancements. I'm all for like data and thought process and everything like that. I'm all for that. But at one point in time, right when the our government basically started the war between Ukraine and Russia, because America government basically started that war. Right when that happened, they were petitioning Elon Musk to shut off all the Teslas in uh, in Russia.
And he
And
could
I
do
was like,
that.
I didn't, and he could do that. Like, I mean, like, so fuck that.
Yeah. Fuck that.
I guarantee I'm never buying a Tesla now, like, because
Wow.
fuck that. That's not happening, like, but it only makes sense because that's the thing. Like, another reason why we need to watch. Like, I'm a firm believer. Like, what technology he's showing right now is like his technology he's had it for a couple of years already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't, like, this man has spoken so much shit. It wouldn't surprise me if he was like guarded by Terminators at this stage. Like, and it's just something to watch for. I think Starlink is an amazing thing, like his satellite system that's going to bring the world closer together, but it could be massively dangerous because then one person can control the flow of information.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Like,
it. Yeah. He has scary
and
much power.
I mean, people have no idea like what they're handing over to him at all. Like, and don't get me wrong, like I said, so far he's shown to be an okay guy. I like the fact that he's not for necessarily one side or against one side, even though the left thinks he's against them. I mean, having equal representation does not necessarily mean he's against somebody, but at the same time, that's a lot of power to have,
Yeah.
And this could, I mean, when you have people that think like, I think he plays like 4D chess while everybody else is playing checkers. So it was almost like, I don't know if you noticed, but it was almost like he was trying to goad Apple and Google to kicking Twitter off of the platform, right? And like they were trying to have it kicked off the iOS store and the
Yeah.
Google App Store, right? Like, if anybody thinks that Starlink was not created with at least a thought concept of him having his own smartphone based off of the Starlink thing, like, you got to be crazy. Like, I mean, like, it's a global network that brings Wi-Fi to remote locations very clearly. Why he would be dumb not to think of building his own smartphone system, his own smartphone network that he would have his own apps on and everything like that.
Yeah.
So he gets kicked off of. If he gets kicked off of Apple and Google, that's a perfect excuse. Like, well, they kicked me off, so now I have to develop my own phone. Here's what I'm doing for you guys. Meanwhile, he's $1,000 per person for a phone plus a monthly service is a pretty good fucking deal for him. Like, at no point in time do not think that he already has something in the works. I mean, he plans on going to fucking Mars,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't think that he has some sort of like communication system that they're going to use on Mars between individuals? Like, it's like, I find it hard to believe that that wasn't part of the plan and process to begin with. And that's a huge amount of power to give to somebody, And I just think I think he's a very, very like next level intelligent individual. And I think that, him looking at world domination in certain ways is not above that type of thought process.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah. He's so interesting. Is he the smartest person alive right now?
Oh, I mean, I don't know if I'd say that because I'm sure there's some like 8-year-old kid somewhere.
Yeah,
that,
probably.
Like, that just is not as famous or whatever. But he is definitely one of the smarter people. But at the same time, is he like? It depends on how you look at it. Like, processing and intelligent wise, I think absolutely. But I don't know. Like, I mean, for all we know, he could have just really, 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 really smart advisors that guide his every fucking word.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, like Andrew Carnegie basically built an empire by saying, "I just hired people smarter than me." Like that was his truth. Like, he oftentimes gave his success to the thought concept that, like, I just hired people smarter than me and managed them. That was his talent, is noticing smarter people than him.
And Steve Jobs, right? Did the same thing.
Same thing with Steve Jobs. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Bill Gates too, Bill Gates it's not like he invented Microsoft. Like there's other people that were involved and shit like that. I mean, fucking at some point in time, you got to wonder, like we're talking about these people in the same light that we're talking about government in. Like, that's how powerful these people are becoming.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Do you think that's the same thing with the president in America? Do you think they have any say at all?
Say yes, not nearly as much power as what people think. They're more of a figurehead than anything else. That, and like, I just like I have a hard time calling who we have president right now because, and here's my thing for people that are starting to freak out. I'm not even trying to say that the election wasn't stolen. You'd have to be fucking ridiculous to think that there wasn't like some voting irregularities. I mean, you'd have to be in full and complete denial. Do I know if it was enough to actually sway the election? No, but I can't prove it, nor would I say that. But some crazy shit went on. But my point is, like, through either marketing and or like mail-in voting and ballot harvesting and all that, whatever, for all that bullshit, we literally elected a cognitively impaired elderly person to the most powerful, like the supposed most powerful position in the world. I mean, he is. I worked in healthcare a long time with a specific focus on elderly people. He is cognitively impaired. I said it before the election. He's a cognitively impaired individual, and it's kind of sad. You know, maybe we shouldn't elect people like. Maybe we should start electing some younger people. You know, and that might be helpful. But also in America, Congress has a massive amount of power, even more than the president, if you ask me. And those people have been in power for decades, and that's our biggest problem. Is we need term limits and the complete revamping of our federal government in that way. Like they've become a ruling class when they were meant to be representatives.
Who do you think was the better candidate for this run?
For this past run?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, it was Trump.
It was Trump?
Yeah, absolutely. I would never, and don't get me wrong, Trump's got plenty of issues, and we can talk about those here in a second. But I'm never, ever, ever going to vote for anybody that runs on a platform of suppressing my rights, of mandates and stuff like that. Like he was like talking about mask mandate and all that shit. Like their job is to protect our rights, not tell us which ones we can have. Like to even think that they should be telling us how they're going to curb our rights as a platform. You got to be. I mean, it's insanity to vote for that, like insanity. Because I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. Like I'm more closer to libertarian than anything, but I consider myself an independent constitutionalist. You know. And then Trump, I wasn't happy with Trump either, though. Like Trump pretty much enabled everything that's happened in the last couple of years with his weakness. And this is going to upset a lot of people too. But 2 weeks to slow the spread, not firing Fauci, listening to Birx, not questioning the models that caused everybody to to close up. And then once the models were proven to be completely ineffectual and wrong, not like saying, okay, we're done with this shit, to even think about allowing the labeling of American citizens as essential and non-essential, that basically right there is massively unconstitutional. And anybody that ever even voted for it or went along with it should be removed from public office almost immediately. Building a two-tier class system of citizen is in fact unconstitutional in itself. The whole Operation Warp Speed, like why are we giving all this money to pharmaceutical industries? My thing was, if we needed one, do the Wars Act and make them produce it, you know. But also the skipping of the trial steps. I mean, he fucked the world basically with Operation Warp Speed, because how many people have been given this experimental gene therapy produced by historically corrupt companies in a historically corrupt industry that have liability protection. They can't even be held accountable should anything negative come about it in a fraction of the time it normally takes to develop a regular vaccine, yet alone one that has never been tried before, and then do it on a mass population level is just fucking like it's. And then for him to be claiming, like he literally claims like responsibility, like, oh, my vaccine, like you can hold that shit, hang that shit on you. But I think he's going to run this next time, and just to put everybody's at ease, if it's between him and any Democrat, I'm voting for him. But I wish it wouldn't be him. I don't think that he's good for the country anymore. I think that he helped identify a movement of people that just wanted to be free, but then basically worked avidly against that freedom. You know, and it's sad, but I think that his economy pre-2020 was amazing, and people should be thankful for that. And to a great degree, his foreign policy before 2020 was awesome too, because he truly, there was a lot safer world. There was peace in the world, you know. But his pandemic, the policies about the pandemic and what happened after that, just fucking horrendous. Horrendous. But those are, by the way, those are the opinions of a weight loss coach.
Yeah. I wish I could pitch in here, but I'm really ignorant when it comes to American politics. How did we even get here? We talked about cancel culture, Elon Musk.
Yeah, we were talking about cancel culture. I do think cancel culture has gotten better, by the way, in America.
How so?
Well, they can only cancel you so far. Like I'm proof positive. They've been trying to cancel me for years and years, way before the pandemic. Like the woke culture that started with fat acceptance and has morphed into all this bullshit. I mean, they've been trying to cancel me for years, and I still have businesses, and still like I'm still going. That and it's just not. I mean, it's seen as how ridiculous it is right now. Like people are trying to say that words are violence. Like that happens from a generation of people that, or a group of people that have never actually experienced or committed real
Yeah.
violence. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, say whatever the fuck you want about me. I don't give a shit. What people think of me is none of my business. You know, but like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. If you don't like it, you don't need to listen to me. You know, I don't listen to people what people have to say about me. You shouldn't have to fucking listen to me either. You
Yeah.
know, but I do think it's gotten better in that people have seen how ridiculous it is, because by their standard, anybody can be canceled. Like you can't. There's no like they're pulling out tweets of people from 20 fucking years
Yeah.
ago.
It's
You know what I mean? Like
crazy.
that's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean,
As if
20
you don't
years ago,
change in 20 years,
right?
right?
As if you don't change, as if you can't have evolving thought. You know, so and, I mean, I think that people are also seeing that the media can't be trusted, and the media is absolutely like nobody really trusts the media anymore in America. Like we realize it's not a free press, it's media. It's not actually journalism, it's media. It's production and publishing of content versus the reporting of happenings in the world. You know, when you add so much slant to it and even like create stuff, and as we've seen with Twitter, there was the actual suppression of of opposing ideologies and thought
Yeah.
process. That's not actual journalism. That's just that's content production on a massive scale. And I think people have gotten sick of it. You can tell by how like these companies, like the woke companies, have all really suffered massive financial losses and stuff like that too. You know, so I mean, I think it's getting better. Do I think it's ever going to be perfect? No, absolutely not. I don't. I also come from the school of thought that I don't think that America is going to last another 10 years. You know, in its current form.
What do you mean by that?
Like we are so dichotomous in our thought process. Like I have clients from all over the world and all over the country, right? I have a client right now that lives in Seattle, Washington, I believe, or right around Seattle, and their life for the last 3 years has not been like it would be hard to believe that this person and I live in the same country. Just because I have for the last 3 years gone about my fucking business, gone anywhere I wanted, gone into restaurants without masks. Like we were, by May of 2020, we were open. I went anywhere I wanted to at any time in any way. Like we lived free, went to bars, went to nightclubs, went to restaurants, as if we didn't basically pandemic here. You saw it when you were here.
Yeah.
Like we really didn't. I mean, people that visited here still tried to pandemic and wear masks, and that's how we know most of the time that they're not from here.
Yeah.
But this person still lives in an area where it's like, 90% of people masks. Like everybody gets their jab constantly. Like every 2 or 3 months, they're getting their updated booster. They have like the fucking children at drag shows and shit. Like their culture has become so very foreign to mine, which is weird because in Florida we're very like open to different lifestyles and stuff like that. The children thing is the issue. You know what I mean? Like I talk about it all the time. But they're like the country western line dance bar that's right down the road from me is attached to a drag queen bingo bar.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like the different, like we're very accepting here. It's nothing to see like a dude walking down the street, cowboy boots, cowboy hat, big belt buckle, wearing a flannel shirt, holding hands with another guy who's wearing like a dress. It's nothing to see that. I mean, it just happens, and it's no big deal. People don't give a shit. I think that the biggest line that gets drawn is like how the woke culture is necessarily treating children, and it's just so like our country. And I don't know if you paid attention to it, but when all this shit started happening, people that believed in freedom away from the government moved. Like a lot of people left California and moved to Florida and Texas and Tennessee and stuff like that. Same thing, New York, Portland, like Oregon and Seattle. A lot of people moved away from these places because they weren't free. They were locked down. Like we literally call Florida the free state of Florida in America. So more people, like we have basically started splitting into our groups. You know what I mean? Like we've basically started splitting into people believe in one thing, and like people that live in Florida and places like that believe in another thing in the vast majority, right? So what this provides is, instead of there being change and us kind of coming together as a melting pot, it makes it so that people become more polarized in their thought process. Because when you're around more people from the same ideology and same thought concept, it only gets more ingrained and it only gets more prevalent and habitual. So now we have people that there's no there, it's way more conservative, or I like to say free based is what I really call it in Florida, than and there's way more people that are woke as a percentage in Seattle and Washington. So the sides became even more polarized because our geography changed in support, right? So what that does is it kind of splits the country just by that divide. Like California will highly likely never have a conservative governor, because most of the people that remain in California, a lot of people that would vote for conservatives moved, so it's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the problem with this is, at some point in time, we are going to reach a tipping point in culture. And in America, like we're reaching the point where the government is taking more and more control right now. And that will be the thing. We have one side that wants the federal government to control a lot more aspects of our life. They want to be able to control speech, which is a huge no-no for our Constitution. We have freedom of speech and freedom of press. And a lot of things, especially that's coming out like on Twitter, show that there is a very serious push to control speech, like of Americans. And I'm a big believer that all speech should be protected. I don't give a shit what you say. You know what I mean? Like, now don't get me wrong, I shouldn't be able to call for the direct violence against somebody without it and have it be amplified or anything like that. I think that is in fact dangerous. But if I want to say that, like, if you've got a dick, you're a man, no matter what you identify as, that should be free speech. That, and I'm a big believer, like, while I don't appreciate people using racial slurs, I would rather them feel comfortable doing so. And the reason being is I want to know if somebody's racist or not. That way I know to avoid them. Right now, the way it's set up is it's societal lying. Political correctness is societal lying. Like, we encourage people to lie directly to people's faces about how they truly feel. That doesn't change their thought concept. Like, I would much rather have a racist person spew racist rhetoric and then have to answer for that racist rhetoric and possibly realize the error of their ways or whatever. But if they feel that it's suppressed and they can't speak it, it gets way more ingrained in them. Like, we don't actually evolve that way, I mean, and I think that by suppressing speech and suppressing freedoms and privacy, I think that we have a huge issue that will not be resolved, where one side of the country kind of believes that the government should take more control when that's actually unconstitutional in its inception. Like, our federal government was formed to provide a common defense and to protect the rights that are outlined in our Constitution. That's it. And right now, as they try to suppress our constitutional rights, they're acting outside the scope of the authority of why the federal government was done. Like, technically, what I would vote for is, like, we need if we're going to stay together as the United States, we need a convention of the states to, in fact, kind of reboot the federal government, from the ground up, because it's grown so massive. They don't even, like, our government spends money that it doesn't have, like, and it has for decades. Like, our government runs at a deficit, which means every single year. So we incur more and more and more debt every single year. Like, you couldn't run your household in America like that. I can't run my household in America like that. It's ridiculous to think that we should be able to incur more and more debt. Like, more money gets borrowed in the name of the American taxpayer every single year versus us trying to actually do anything, actually, like, stop that from happening. And we just keep spending more and more and more money. We just passed a $1.7 trillion omnibus bill. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's basically the spending bill for the government, and it's $1.7 trillion, and we give money away to other countries as if we have it. Like, why can't, like our government doesn't answer these questions? Like, why can't they borrow money? Why are we giving them money? They could borrow it from us. Like, the thing about the whole Ukraine war that I didn't understand, these people are, like, Ukraine is one of the highest producers of wheat in the world, right? Highest exporters of wheat in the world. Why are we giving them money instead of exchanging and getting food product at a very seriously discounted price. Like if this person, like if you needed money really bad, say you owned like 10 cars, right? And you got in a financial way where you needed money from me really, really, really bad. Like, and I was the only person that would be willing to give you money. Why would I not buy your cars from you if I need, it's like, say I need cars because we need food, right? But say I needed cars. Why would I not buy your cars from you at a discounted price so I can give you a big lump sum of money? That way I'm getting something out of it and you're getting what you need
Yeah.
because now you're more liquid. Like it's just not an actual, like it's not beneficial for America. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, we need to defeat Russia. And my question is why? I mean, like, how does this affect us necessarily? Now, don't get me wrong. I want people to be free everywhere, but we're pretending that Ukraine has freedom and their citizens literally don't. Like, they're an authoritarian government that has literally Nazis in their military, and they suppress any opposition and speech. Like, I don't understand why we're supporting this. And when I was growing up, in the 90s, this is the type of country that America would try to liberate, you know? And so it's just, I mean, we're in a very weird state. You're just letting me ramble about all sorts of shit that I'm not really qualified to talk about. I'm just giving my thoughts on.
No, it's very interesting. And what was I gonna say? So okay, you don't think America is gonna be the same in 10 years? So is that for the good or for the bad? For good or for worse?
Depends on how you look at it, I guess. I think for freedom, like what I believe is that if we are going to stay united, the federal government needs to be radically reduced, and we should stay united as individual states as we should have been from the very beginning, as we're intended to be, because besides actual common defense in time of war and protection of the rights as laid out in the Constitution that we're born with, everything should be up to the states. Everything. So, excuse me. So to live, like, if one state wants to have laws that you don't like, but another state has laws that you like, you can choose where you live. You can weigh out your choices, right? But if everybody is under federal rule, then we're too vast and we're too different, especially the dichotomies we have. We're way too different for one federal government to rule over in the way that they are. Like they control everything from, like, fuck, dude, they control they control so much aspect. Like there's things from, like, what plants people can grow and use in their own yard to, like, because I'm a big believer in this, legalize it all. Like, let people make choices. Like, we are free people. Show me in the Constitution where it says I should not be able to grow weed or hemp or anything in my backyard and use it. Like, show me how the government somehow has the authority to tell me what plant I can grow and eat, or grow and smoke, or grow and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that at all. Like, to me, that's over the scope of the authority. And then this past couple of years, we literally gave the CDC power. Our government, not we, but our government gave the CDC power over several industries, like the cruise line industry and all sorts of stuff. And, like, people listen to the CDC recommendations as if these people have. I mean, for those people that don't know, the American Center for Disease Control and Prevention literally takes funding from the pharmaceutical industry in large dollar figures.
Wow.
Like from big food, like sponsors of the CDC and the FDA are companies like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Novo Nordisk, Pfizer, Moderna. They all give money to these entities in millions and millions, if not billions of dollars. And to me, that's a direct conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So you have an agency that is technically a government agency taking money from private industry that then approves of what private industry can do and approves what American people can do about it. Like, to me, that's an overreach of authority. And I just think that people are overly sick of it. I do believe that we're at a stage in America where the tipping point will be reached, because it became extremely evident recently that the CDC, the FBI, a lot of entities of our government are not actually working in the best interest of the American people. And I think that in the next 10 years, there's going to be a reckoning about some stuff, you know?
So yeah, it's has this ever happened in the history of America? Of course, not to this scale because obviously the internet enhances everything. But was the world ever this sensitive and this screwed?
Well, we did have a civil war, but I don't think it was from sensitivity. I thought, but if you're talking about like how like the people are so in their feels right
Yeah,
now, it's just crazy. Like I've never like it's weird for me because like I'm easily old enough to be your father, right? And what I find to be kind of amazing is I remember a time when people would like you showed love by mean jokes toward each
yeah.
other. Like that's like literally why one of the reasons why I am the way I am, you know? And I think that it's been dramatically just enhanced. People are so privileged in America too. Like like
Life is so
people
easy.
life is so easy in America. Like so fucking easy. It's so convenient. Like I say this all the time and it really upsets people, but there's no more privileged people on the planet than the American obese people.
Mm.
Like none. And it really upsets them because like right now we have a big push by media, social media, and even our government to kind of state that like obese people are a marginalized class of people that are discriminated against. Like motherfucker, like you are privileged as fuck.
Mm.
It's amazing to me how these people claim marginalization when there's people that actually starve to death. Like I recently had people be like, well, I can't afford to lose weight, stuff like that. Like people say shit like this openly, like because like I'm poor. Like real poverty does not look like obesity. If you've
Mm.
been around the world, I've been a few places in the world. Real poverty does not look fat. Real poverty is they look like they're starving to death.
Mm.
Like they can't get food, afford food anywhere like that. If you can talk on $1,000 smartphone, film a video that talks about how poor you are and you can't afford to lose weight, you're the biggest kind of stupid I fucking think I've seen. It's ridiculous, you know?
Is this is really interesting because this is something I've thought of often that because if you want to go super healthy, like eating all organic, grass-fed cows, whatever, grass-fed meat, it is more expensive than eating like in a middle way, for example, right?
It depends on how you look at it. Is it more expensive? Not necessarily. Like if you're a 300-pound person, you're likely taking in 3,000 to 4,000 calories in a given day, depending on your activity level, hormone levels, age, that sort of thing, right? And you're probably spending X amount of dollars. So say you spend the same X amount of dollars on food of a higher quality, but it's only 1,800 calories,
Mm.
right? So it depends on what you mean by more expensive.
Yeah, I
You also got
see.
to weigh you also got to weigh into the factor of how much more expensive it is to be obese when you count in future healthcare issues, increase fuel costs on carting your fat ass around. Like the reality of it is it is actually less expensive to be lean. Like my food bill dropped dramatically when I started like eating less calories and downsizing.
Mm.
Like people, I mean, if you're eating less, anybody can afford to eat less. Like if you're eating shit food and eating 4,000 calories of it and it's causing you to be 300 and some pounds, eat 2,200 calories of it and lose fucking
Mm.
weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not a matter of if it's more expensive or not. Now the issues rise where that's not necessarily healthy because the food that you're eating at 4,000 calories might be very low calorically, very low nutritionally dense food,
Yeah.
and you might need to buy a multivitamin or mix in some fucking vegetables. But if you take the same amount of money and just buy less calories but higher quality food, you will lose weight and be healthier than you would if you were fat.
Yeah.
It's like to me that's just a weird excuse that people use where it's expensive to eat healthy. Well, you eat less. I
Mm.
mean, if you eat $50 worth of pasta in a month, $50 worth of meat is going to satiate you way more than that $50
Mm.
of
Yeah.
pasta.
True.
Or even if you want to look at it this way, so like 8 ounces of potato is about 140 calories. It costs about the same as 8 ounces of pasta, right? 8 ounces of pasta is 400 calories. So
Yeah.
180 calories to 400 calories. You know what I mean? Like it's what you choose to eat. You know, it's I mean and don't get me wrong, like I try to eat grass fed and everything like that, but I normally go to like a local farm
Mm.
and like a local farmer and eat and buy local because if anything, it's much less processed and it's
Yeah.
much fresher when I buy it from the butcher at the farm
Mm.
than it is when I buy it at the store anyway. You
Yeah.
know, like if I could buy food that was like lived, grown, slaughtered, and and processed 20 miles away versus meat from California.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like it's a win-win for me, you know?
Yeah, I love the thought of knowing where your food comes from. I
Yeah.
feel like also my grandparents have this big garden. They grow a lot of vegetables and stuff, and it just when you eat it, it just feels better. I don't know what it is. Like it doesn't necessarily taste better to me, the homegrown vegetables, but there's something that just feels better immediately when you eat it.
Yeah, yeah. Like a huge portion of that is the foods, like ultra processed foods compared to like vegetables and stuff like that, are highly inflammatory, like in of themselves.
Mm.
Like they're inflammatory agents in the body, and they cause very serious systemic inflammation. But also between like processed carbohydrates and ultra processed foods, the like vegetables you eat are going to have a much higher like profile for micronutrients, antioxidants, phytonutrients, those sorts of things too. You know, so of course, it's actual fuel for your body. It's food versus just energy. A lot of times, especially ultra processed carbohydrates, are literally just energy.
Mm.
Like they're not really food. They're just energy.
Yeah.
And energy, like carbohydrates, are not essential for people to ingest them, but they're not essential. Amino acids and fatty acids are essential. Carbohydrates are literally just fuel.
Yeah. What do you think about the keto diet?
Um, I don't, my issue with any diet is that if it's viewed or done in a way that it's a temporary thing, it is unhealthy
Mm.
because uh, it then kind of if you're using it for weight loss especially and it's a temporary basis that encourages weight cycling and that can be unhealthy for an individual and it doesn't really help with lifestyle habits. Now the beautiful thing about keto is that it's highly satiating.
Mm.
I basically eat like if I eat twice in a day, my first meal is normally either carnivore or keto.
Mm.
It's either all protein and healthy fat or protein, healthy fat, and vegetables, like non-starchy vegetables, right? And then my evening meal is normally more well-rounded. If I'm going to have carbohydrates, it's normally starchy vegetables in the evening, along with other protein and vegetables. But to me, that's what works for me. I've known some people that keto works really, really well for, and it's really the only thing that they could be on because they do have kind of a sugar addiction,
Mm.
and they have to stay away from anything that, like, in any way has a glycemic response in their body. I like it, like I said, for the satiation factor. I do think it has the proper focus on healthy protein amounts and amino acids and fatty acids. But to a great degree, for some people, they find it too restricting.
Yeah.
If you're on keto occasionally and you occasionally have something just for pleasure, like that's what we do a lot more in our coaching, which is where like we have the person be kind of meticulous throughout the course of the week and then one meal or one item a week just for pleasure. And then you plan out your next day's food to make sure that just in case you do have cravings from eating that you can get right back onto eating in a more normalized fashion. That way that the food for pleasure, which is what I call ultra processed carbohydrates, food
Mm.
for pleasure.
Mm.
Um, Anything with flour or sugar, anything like that, that's just for pleasure only. It's not really food.
Yeah.
If you're going to have an item just for pleasure, alcohol, same thing. Make sure you know where your next day's meal is coming from. Have it planned out. Have it already procured. That way, you're not tempted to just like continue eating in that fashion. But keto, I like. I don't mind carnivore either. I don't like people that get very like tribal about eating patterns because it's the same thing as like the people with intermittent fasting. Technically, I intermittent fast every day because I technically eat between at the most an 8-hour window. It's normally somewhere around 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours. I eat
Mm.
my first bit of food likely about 3 o'clock, and then my last bit of food about 7 o'clock. Normally, almost every day. But I don't consider myself an intermittent faster because that's just my eating pattern. It's how I keep satiated. I focus on drinking about 100, 150 to 200 ounces of fluid before my first meal, and then I drink about another anywhere from 25 to 50 ounces of fluid after that, and after my first meal,
You eat
and
your
that feel
first meal at 3 p.m.?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Normally, between 1 o'clock and three, I don't normally like it's like kind of a loose thing for me. That's why I say like my window is this or this.
but isn't that
You know,
literally intermittent fasting then?
yeah, but I don't consider it that. It's just how I eat. Like, and technically, everybody intermittent fasts. If you sleep,
Yeah.
you intermittent fast.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what the window is. It's just intermittent fasting is just a fancy term that has been used to for marketing and monetization for people. Technically, like 70 years ago, everybody intermittent fasted because breakfast wasn't really a fucking thing. Breakfast is more of a much more like in the last 100 years concept of a thing. Breakfast foods like being pancakes and cereals is even more in the last like 60 years than anything. And oftentimes people didn't have enough. Most obese people should focus way more on their hydration first thing in the day than food. Like if you're morbidly obese, you do not need your first meal of the day to energize your day. Like you want your body to go towards your fat stores to be trying to grab energy from there, so you can unfatten yourself a little bit. You know.
I did keto for about a month, and I did intermittent fasting where I fasted for 18 hours, and I had a really hard time getting enough food in that small eating window. I ate 2 meals a day, and I think I have I do have a really fast metabolism, and it was really hard for me to eat enough food. So in my fasting window, people say when you do intermittent fasting and keto, you shouldn't feel hungry, but I felt really, really hungry.
I mean, it could be your age, could be your genetics, it could be the food you were eating, it could be all sorts of stuff. Like if you were eating sugar or carbohydrates in that time, well, you were doing keto.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it could have just been like an undernourishing of yourself. Absolutely. Like I would argue that it's a completely different scenario for somebody like you. You know what I mean? Who like you are like you are and stay kind of in a lean state.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't want to go into glyconeogenesis as readily as somebody that's say morbidly obese, or even myself, who's you're probably a little leaner than I am right now. Like my body will go to my fat stores rather readily, especially because I eat in that kind of fashion. Like I normally work out at like 11 on a completely empty stomach, and like I'm all in the fat burning zone because there's nothing in my system. You know what I mean? And especially this time of year, like by next week, I'll probably only take in carbohydrates, like actual carbohydrates besides vegetables, like non-starchy vegetables, like a couple times a week. So my body is very, very, very much, going to my fat stores. And for me, that works. But I can tell you this. I absolutely can tell you this. Um, before I started taking our supplement, when I did get very lean, I was much hungrier with working out just because my body was like, we don't got much to fucking pull from. So it then like went through the evolutionary response of making sure I was trying to be hungry. That the issue I have with that now that I got to watch for is that like between the supplement we have now and our second supplement that's coming out, which I can't even release the name of yet because we don't have trademark yet, but it's actually for blood sugar regulation, glycemic response, insulin sensitivity, inflammation. When on both of them together, like I have to watch because I can actually just forget to eat.
Wow.
And that's the one thing I watch for. But for someone like you, you're already lean. If I was you, I would do the protein prioritization method, meaning like your first meal of the day would be all protein, your second meal of the day, protein and some vegetables. And then your third meal, make it be a nice, nice mix of protein, veggies, and carbs. That way, you're getting in plenty of fuel, carbohydrates, and you're getting plenty of energy. But it should still keep you satiated longer in the day because you are taking in a meal earlier that's all protein, that's very satiating. Then some like protein and what would be nature's multivitamin, being vegetables and stuff like that. Then through the evening, you take in a little bit of extra energy because you're very active, workout, and already in a lean state.
Yeah. Alan, this has been an absolute pleasure, as always.
Man, thank you very much. And like I said, I'll send you a message when after we're done here. I appreciate you having me on. Let me know when this comes on. But then maybe I'll have you on the channel here in another week or so.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely. That would be awesome. Go ahead
right,
here
man.
at the end. Go ahead, plug away anything you want plugged.
Well, my name's Alan Roberts. You can find me on Alan Roberts on YouTube, the MFing COO. That's the MFING COO on Instagram and Twitter. You can check out our coaching. We do lifestyle coaching where we focus on satiation, satisfaction, appropriate fitness level activity. We focus on good habits around hydration, sleep, stress relief. We make sure the person does not feel like they're on a diet ever. If we're your coach and you feel like you're on a diet, we've made some mistakes, we go back and make adjustments. It's daily communication and weekly video conferences via our app. We also have no morbidity. It's our non-stimulant, non-thermogenic based appetite suppressant. I just had somebody report back in after being on it for 6 months. They lost 25% of their body mass.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing.
That's awesome.
And they're in a state of complete controlled hunger, better stress relief. You can get it at Vitamin Shop and at AmbrosiaCollective.com. And man, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you.
Awesome. And to the viewers, thank you for tuning in, liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. Take it easy. Peace.
Take it easy.